Welcome guys, welcome again. Today we are going to have New York Film Academy from US in the Student University webinar day 4. Now today basically we have two presenters. Okay, New York Film Academy has two campuses, one in New York, one in California. For people who don't know these places, both these places are in US. They offer certificate, bachelor's and master's. We have with us Lizzie Sack and Mr. Roger Del Pazzo. Now, something about Lizzie, Miss Lizzie Sack is an international higher education administrator with more than 10 years of experience in higher education with leadership and management roles, mostly directed towards international student capacity building. In the early 2000s, Miss Sack worked as a costume designer and wardrobe director for Walt Disney great grandson in his early films. She has been at NYFA for the past 8 years and has assisted students from over 82 countries. Additionally, she works extensively with the foreign government entities that provides funding opportunities for their nation's students to study with NYFA. Regarding basically Mr. Roger Del Pazzo, is the director of outreach at the New York Film Academy and has been with NYFA for over a decade. He has taught guest lectures on 5 continents and has auditioned actors from all over the world for NYFA prestigious acting and musical theater programs. He was a casting director in New York for many years and has casted hundreds television commercials as well as films, plays, voiceovers, video games, music videos, and industrial for many of the top casting companies and advertising agencies in New York City. So let's welcome Miss Lizzie Sack and Mr. Roger Del Pazzo.
Hi, Richard. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here again. As Richard said, my name is Lizzie Sack. I am the Director of Agency Relations here at the New York Film Academy. I am joined by my wonderful colleague and dear friend, Roger Del Pazzo. Today, what we're going to talk about mostly is how to prepare an audition for either acting for film or musical theater. In my past couple of presentations, we've talked about how to create a portfolio, how to study in the United States, but today we'll focus mostly on acting for film. So for those of you who don't know, New York Film Academy is a college of visual and performing arts that is both regionally and nationally accredited. We have 5 full-time campuses worldwide, and we teach everything from filmmaking to acting, musical theater, producing, screenwriting, 3D animation, game design, documentary filmmaking. I'm probably missing some more, but all of the College of Visual and Performing Arts. But today we will be talking mostly about acting for film and musical theater. And one of the great things, I came in at the very end of Richard's presentation when he was talking about making friends. The cool thing about New York Film Academy is that we all under one roof, we're all artists. So everyone has something in common, and it makes it very easy to make friends, and everyone loves the same thing and everyone's creative. So it is very exciting. So let me introduce Roger Del Pazzo. Roger, if you want to say a few words.
Sure. Hi, how you doing, everyone? My name is Roger Del Pazzo. I'm the Director of Outreach at the New York Film Academy. As Richard said, I've been with the New York Film Academy for over a decade, almost 12 years, and I'm the Director of Outreach at the school. That's a pretty big job. I do a lot of international work. I do a lot of domestic work. I've been to over 30 countries for the New York Film Academy. And part of what I do is work with our performing artists. So what we will talk about today is how to prepare an audition, whether you're applying to an acting program or a musical theater program in the US. I will be specifically talking about the New York Film Academy's requirements. All schools have slightly different requirements if you're applying to performing arts schools, but they will be similar. But I do recommend any school that you're looking to apply to, you make sure that you thoroughly review their own audition requirements, because it may vary a little bit from what we're going to talk about today. Also, as Richard mentioned, I was a casting director as well. I did that for over 12 years. I've worked on over 1,000 television commercials. So I really have experience on the with auditioning from the professional standpoint as well as the academic standpoint. And that's the way that I approach it. And that's the way that we approach all things at New York Film Academy. We're very conscious about hiring instructors, faculty, and staff that are present working day professionals. So the advice that I give you hopefully will transcend applying to school and really help you even if you're pursuing a career in performing arts. So very nice to meet everyone. Lizzie, I can get going unless you have anything else that you want to discuss.
Nope, I'm all good. Just let me know if you need anything.
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen, guys. So at the New York Film Academy, we require an audition if you're applying to our acting program or our musical theater program. And an audition is basically a way for us to evaluate an applicant and make sure that they are going to be a good fit for our programs. So again, for the two performing arts programs that we do, acting for film as well as musical theater, we would require an audition at the school. So what does that entail? Well, it can be different for different schools. They may have different types of requirements. At the New York Film Academy, for our acting for film program, we require applicants to prepare 2 monologues. And basically those would be standalone speeches from either a play or a screenplay that one character delivers. So basically it's a way to watch you take a speech from a play and dramatize that. Basically, we require that those monologues be contemporary. And what that means is that we want them to be have been published post 1960. Some other schools may have different requirements. They may look for a classical piece or a Shakespearean piece. We really prefer contemporary pieces as we are a film school. So most of the work that you would be working on at New York Film Academy would be contemporary. Now, we ask that the monologues be contrasting. And what that means is that they should be different in tone from each other. And generally, in the vernacular, the vocabulary of actors, we talk about one dramatic piece and one comedic piece. So one that would be more dramatic in nature, one that would be more comedic in nature. That way, we get a sense of the actor's versatility and their ability to take on multiple roles. Now, we ask that the monologues be approximately 60 to 90 seconds each. This is important. Sometimes we receive applications and applicants will prepare a monologue that's very long, 4 minutes or 5 minutes, but in the professional world, that is not really what we would be looking at. We would be looking at a much shorter piece when we do initial auditions. So we ask them to be approximately a minute to a minute and a half in length. We don't time you, so if you go over, that's okay, but that is generally what our recommendation is. Also, because you are applying to a school where all of the instruction will be in English, we do require that the monologues be in English as well. Now, generally, that would mean that you would pick a piece from an English, something that was originally written in English. However, if you do find a piece that was maybe written in another language and you wanted to translate that into English because you felt a strong affinity for that piece, we would allow that at New York Film Academy. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about choosing a monologue and how to go about picking pieces that are going to highlight and showcase you in the best possible way. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, guys. And this is a big deal. I often get questions from applicants. How do I pick a piece that is going to be the best piece for me? There's so many different choices. Where do I look for material? So first, I would say that you have to read through many different plays, many different screenplays, and do your research, because you want to find material that you can relate to and that makes you feel something emotional as you read those pieces. Also, you want to keep in mind that you're applying to a school. You're looking to become part of an academic community. So you may not want to pick pieces that are overly sexual, profane, violent, suicidal. You want to pick pieces that maybe are not as maybe not as profane. And that is generally a recommendation that we would provide. Now, in addition to that, you want to pick pieces that are age appropriate, pieces that you can actually play that part if you were cast in that role. Sometimes actors will pick pieces that may be wildly out of their age range. For example, I would have an applicant apply to college, but then they may pick a piece from King Lear and the character may be 70 years old. That would not be an effective piece for a college student because you would not be able to play that role in the real world. So we want you to pick pieces that are age appropriate and that allow you to express the uniqueness of who you are and that speak to your strengths. Remember, we want to get an understanding of you, your personality, your creativity, and how you interpret material. Now, how do you prepare your monologue? You've chosen pieces, you've found ones that you really like. What goes into the preparation? Well, you want to make sure that you read the entire play or the entire screenplay that monologue came from. The monologue will only be a short part of that play or screenplay, but it's still important to read the entire play because that will give you insight into your character. It will help you to make choices. You will know what happened to your character before the speech as well as after the speech, and that will inform how you choose to act the piece. Now, you absolutely should memorize your pieces. That is a very basic requirement. You want to make sure that you do not have to read your piece. You want to have that memorized. So again, that's putting in the preparation beforehand. Now, if you are not able to audition in person, and obviously with the pandemic and limitations on international travel, most applicants would not be auditioning in person. You would be able to record your own audition and then submit that to the New York Film Academy once you apply. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to record your own audition, because in this day and age, most performers will be self-taping auditions. They will be taping it on their own rather than auditioning in person. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about musical theater, because if you are looking to audition for a musical theater program, it will be slightly different. Rather than preparing 2 monologues, in this situation, we would require you to prepare 2 songs. Those songs should be, again, 60 to 90 seconds in length. That's usually the sweet spot. So you do not have to perform the entire song. You would pick a piece of that song, again, 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. And then you'd have to pick a 1-minute monologue from a stage play. Now, again, like with the monologues, you want to make sure that you're picking songs that you love to sing, that are in your vocal range, that express something unique and interesting about you. A lot of what you would do as a musical theater performer is not only singing the songs, but it's really about interpreting those songs. So you want to make sure that you're putting in the time to develop and to act those songs. I want to talk to you a little bit about the process of selecting songs for an audition for a musical theater program. And again, like I said, you want to do as much research as you possibly can. And that really means watching as many musicals as you can, listening to as many musical scores as you can. There are a lot of resources on the internet where you can go and listen to full plays, full musicals, so that you get an understanding of pieces that are going to be interesting to you. And again, keep in mind, it's not only about singing, but it's about how you interpret it. So you want to think about storytelling. You want to think about how you will act the song. And again, like with monologues, you want to pick pieces that are age appropriate, parts that you can play today. It's very important that you're picking pieces that if we were casting that show, we can actually envision you in that part. Okay, so the next step, what I want to talk about is recording your audition. And this is definitely something that in the last few years has become the norm when students are looking to apply to performing arts programs. Generally, they're going to be asked to record the audition on their own. So I want to give you some tips about how to record an audition successfully, what we look for, so that you will, again, paint yourself in the best possible light and really enhance your application. Okay, so It used to be that you would need professional equipment, you would need microphones, you would need specific cameras to be able to record your audition. Now, because of technology and obviously the use of smartphones and other devices, we are able to record auditions fairly easily, but you still want to think about production when you're recording that audition. So we'll get into that a little bit. Okay, so you want to make sure that you introduce yourself. You say your name. You also want to say the title of the piece that you're performing. Oftentimes I'll receive video clips from a student, but they're not identifying themselves and they're not saying the name of the piece. So it doesn't allow me to evaluate it in the best possible way. So you want to make sure that you make sure to introduce yourself as part of that audition. You want to make sure that your eye line where you are looking is not all over the place. If you're supposed to be talking to one person in the piece, you want to find where that person is and really identify that for yourself so that you keep referring to the same place. You don't want to play the piece directly into the camera. You want to find an eye line slightly off camera to play to, because if you think about films or television shows, rarely would an actor be performing directly into the camera. Although in some instances that may be required, it is generally very rare. Now, when you frame the piece, you want to make sure that the camera is far away that we can see your whole body, or at least 3/4 of your body. So you don't want to shoot it in a close-up. You want to make sure that we can see all of you. In terms of sound and lighting, like I indicated, we do not expect a professionally recorded audition. At the same time, you want to make sure you're checking your sound, you're checking your lighting. You want to make sure that we can hear you and we can see you very clearly. In terms of the background, the setting, you do not want to have a lot of distraction in the background. Again, we want to be focused specifically on you. So if you have posters or any other kind of distraction behind you, you may want to eliminate that when you're recording the audition. In terms of a wardrobe, again, I would choose a wardrobe that does not distract from your performance, so it can be fairly neutral. And I would avoid wearing a costume, keeping in mind that we're going to watch you do 2 pieces. They're going to be different pieces from each other. So really, the clothing should absolutely be non-distracting, and something neutral is probably a better choice. And then in terms of use of props, generally we would say do not use props unless they are practical and it enhances your performance, because props can also take away from your performance. It can be distracting. So you want to keep props or miming, anything like that, to a minimum when you record your audition. Now, once you record your audition at the New York Film Academy, you would be able to upload that audition to your unique applicant portal that we have here at the school. So you would be uploading the audition to a video sharing site and then sharing that link with the school. And that's generally how it would be done at most institutions. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about recording a musical theater audition, just briefly, because it would be a slightly different process, keeping in mind that you have to be singing to either backing tracks or accompaniment. So when you are recording your musical theater audition, you have to find that backing track, or you have to have someone playing the music for you. We will not accept an a cappella, which means vocal only audition. In addition to that, you may not use a microphone. We have to hear what your voice sounds like when it is not enhanced or adorned. To that end, you can also not use any kind of auto-tune software. We want to hear your voice as it is, imperfections and all. That's the only way that we can really evaluate your audition. And we do not require a dance audition at the New York Film Academy. So if you are a dancer and you're looking to apply to our musical theater program, we will still be focused on your singing and your acting. When you get accepted into the institution, you will then do a dance audition where we can evaluate your dance level. Some schools, if you're looking to apply to musical theater programs, would be requiring you to submit a dance audition. We do not, however. So I did want you to keep that in mind. Okay, so we talked a little bit about what we require when we're looking at auditions, and how I would like to finish up this presentation before we get into any kind of questions, if there are any questions, and if there are, I would be happy to help with those questions. I just want to give you guys some general tips that I think will help you. And I frame it in the form of common mistakes that performers make when they are submitting auditions to the New York Film Academy. So we'll talk about some of the negatives, and hopefully that will give you some advice and tips on how to make your audition a positive experience. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some common mistakes that performers make when they're applying to colleges and submitting their auditions. Bear with me a sec. Okay, so the first mistake is that they don't prepare enough. They may not have the piece memorized, or they didn't take enough time to choose pieces that were going to really highlight them. So they had to rush very late in the process, and they weren't as prepared as they should be. So you want to make sure that you're putting in the time, you're preparing those pieces, you're memorizing those pieces, you're rehearsing those pieces before you would submit those for acceptance into an institution. A couple of ways that you can prepare: hone your craft. If you have the ability to take a class or to work with someone on your pieces, that will really help you. You want to prepare so much that you don't have to think about it at all once you're doing it. And the more prepared you are, the more physically present you can be, the more relaxed you can be, and therefore the more focused you can be. And I want to give you just a quick bit of acting advice. Whenever you pick a piece, whether it's a monologue or a song, some questions you should ask yourself are what we refer to as the 5 W's. So that would be who, what, where, when, and why. Who am I talking to? Where am I? When is this taking place? Why is this taking place, which is probably the most important thing. So you want to keep those things in mind. That's how you build those imaginary circumstances as an actor. And those would be questions that you would be asking yourself when you're preparing material. Now, another mistake that performers make is that they don't feel worthy. They feel very insecure. If you are applying for an institution, keep in mind, we do not expect you to be perfect. We understand that you are looking to get accepted into an institution so that you can learn how to do this very effectively. So I don't want you to worry about whether or not you are good enough to be accepted. You want to prepare it to the best of your ability, and then let us make that decision. Don't worry so much about what is expected of you. Again, we're not expecting perfection. We care more about the type of performer that you're going to be, not the type of performer that you were in the past. So I don't want you to worry too much about what's expected of you. Also, I don't want you to prioritize the end result, which would be getting accepted into the school, over the process, which would be, how am I preparing this audition to the best of my ability, regardless of what happens at the end? So you really want to focus on the process, not whether or not you're going to be accepted, but how do I prepare this monologue in the best possible way that will showcase me to the school of my dreams. All right, so we already talked a little bit about recording an audition. I did also just want to mention to you guys that when we evaluate auditions at the New York Film Academy, we are not only looking for looking at the auditions to accept the student. This can also be a way that we determine who can be eligible for partial talent-based assistance to attend school with us. So if you're looking for financial institution, for financial assistance from the institution, the audition can help you to make your application stronger so that the school may be more likely to grant you partial assistance. I know that that's the way that it works for New York Film Academy, and it also may be the way that it works at a lot of other schools. So you want to keep that in mind when you are applying and preparing an audition for a performing arts program. Okay, so I hope that that was helpful. I don't know if we have time for any questions, Richard, or if you have any questions, or if there's anything that I can clarify or assist with.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. That was absolutely perfect. You covered every details of it. and you helped many students, because this is a very important question that everybody has, that how to prepare a portfolio, how to basically do the audition, how to basically how much it should be, and all those little things, and what to do and what not to do. Everything was covered. Thank you very much for that detailed presentation. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you, Richard. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure to have you on.
Pleasure for me as well.